I am Grady.
And I'm Zack.
And welcome to Highlights, a show where we recap something like it's sports, even though it's not. This season, we are looking at the 4th season of Dragula in all of its spooky glory. Let's dive into this. Previously on Dragula. Last week's episode was Nosferatu Beach Party, an episode where the competitors were challenged with taking vampire looks and applying them to a beach party theme. Before they got into the challenge itself, they had to deal with both the loss of formaldehyde, which didn't last very long because they ended up just replacing her entirely by bringing back Dolly, which we kind of anticipated based on that end credits from Dragula Resurrection. But Dolly has now been revealed to formally be the 11th competitor on the 4th season of Dragula, and even got their very own promo look, which they released as well. What were your thoughts when Dolly came out?
I thought it was really cool. I'm not so much of a diehard Dolly fan, so didn't really have an opinion about it one way or the other, but based on what I saw in the competition in this episode, I was very, very impressed, so I was really excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Dolly's a great performer, but since Dolly wasn't around last week, I want to spend just a quick second kind of breaking down Dolly's history and information. So for pronouns, Dolly uses almost all pronouns under the sun, identifies as they, them, he, him, she, her in drag, they, them, he, him out of drag. Dolly is from Phoenix, Arizona. Dolly's name comes from the famous painter Salvador Dali. Dolly is also the drag mother of Astrid Aurelia, who's of course also competing on season 4. Dolly is now the second competitor to return to the competition, competing in 2 seasons, just after Saint, and is the first competitor to enter the competition ever after the competition has already started. So it's the first time they've ever brought somebody back after they've already done at least one challenge. Dolly probably has had the biggest evolution since they competed on their initial season, which was season 2. They're almost unrecognizable at this point in what they do. So I wanted to include a couple of their past promo looks and stuff like that. Season 2, Dolly was a lot more traditional, I think, as a competitor and as a more traditional queen, to be honest with you. And then really by the time we meet them again in Dragula Resurrection is way more artistic, way more gender fluid, a completely different style, much closer to what we're getting now already, and what they're doing on season 4. And of course, this new promo look for them for season 4 is even vastly different from where they were at in Resurrection. So it's going to be really interesting to see what Dolly does because, especially compared to the last time they competed on a full season, it's bound to be just light years away from what they did before. So I'm really excited for that. I was a little worried for Saint, because I was like, oh, I wonder if this shakes Saint up again, like a bit, shakes her confidence. But then I remembered they already competed against each other on Resurrection, and Saint technically beat him already, right? So, but Dolly obviously.
Should I gotta do this again?
Right, but Dolly obviously came in a very close second, so I still would be a little nervous if I were Saint.
I'm so hung up on the fact that she was dating, what's her name from Drag Race?
Aiden Zane.
You told me that last week and I was like, I'm sorry, what?
Yep, Saint and Aiden Zane. But Saint and Dolly also have like a little romantic connection there as well. So that'll be interesting to watch unfold. I bet they spent a lot of time folding each other. Anyways, the episode also opens with the iconic Boulet Brothers, I guess, movie or mini film intro that they do, which I kind of like. I really liked how that was done on the beach. Thought that was pretty cool. So they were each paired up, right? So they each had a partner and they had to kind of come up with their own little skit, but each pair shared a piece of the stage with everybody else, and it became a collective performance of this beach party.
And Zavaleta chose the pairs, correct?
Yes, she did. Some worked better than others, but I thought the beach party overall actually was pretty nice, and I thought it looked actually kind of cohesive, you know. So I thought it was actually really cool to watch. But in terms of just everybody's looks, I really like Saints. Laza Valeta's was better than I thought it was going to be. I didn't expect much after the last episode, but I thought she genuinely did a lot better this episode.
Yeah, I was, as much as I didn't like her on the last episode, I was really raring to see her go home. She kind of surprised me this episode, and I don't know if she was just by comparison not nearly as bad as another competitor's Flip Out. So she just looks so much better, but I don't know, she just seemed to show a lot of growth in 1 week, which was really weird, but also good for her because what she showed of herself on the first episode was not flattering. But this version of herself was much better. Her look was like okay. Her performance though, like she was into it, and I feel like she was really feeling herself and having fun with it, which when the performer is having fun, everyone else has fun, and I think that's really, really important.
Right, and I think this was a good kind of second chance for her because her floor show last week was so all over the place, and they mentioned like her props were barely working, and you know she took forever, she was kind of lost. So I definitely think this was a great week for her, you know. Mary Cherry I thought was all right. I appreciate her look, like I really liked her look and all that stuff, but obviously she and her partner fell apart very quickly. And they mentioned how upset she looked the entire time. And Mary Cherry, I'm not a fan so far, I'll be honest.
Yeah, she just had a nasty attitude, and I really agreed with what one of the Boulets said to her, just like drop the legendary bullshit. You know, just you are who you are. You're here as a competitor, and you're really on the same level as everybody else because that's why we chose you to be here. So if you leave your ego behind, you'll probably do much better because her attitude was her biggest enemy in this episode.
Sigourney Beaver, I thought looked really good.
She did. She looked really cute. She wasn't one of my top looks this week, but I think she made. I don't know. I feel like she played this one very strategically. I felt like she knew this wasn't going to be her strongest thing because it probably wasn't in her best of wheelhouses. But I think she's like, I'm going to do just enough to get by and be safe, and still do well enough to be, I don't know, honorable mention or whatever. But she didn't do bad by any means. I thought she lived her character the entire time through the floor show. Her look was fairly detailed. I don't think there was anything that was like out of place or didn't look good. She was just good.
It was very safe, but you know, she definitely is a performer, so I really appreciated how she was selling it. And yeah, it was all right. Coco Kane, I don't know how I feel about this one.
She got a lot of praises from the Boulay for
She did, and it's not that she didn't look great, but I also felt like it was kind of safe.
Oh, was she with
she was Mary? With Mary.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, she was with Mary Cherry. That's right. That's a big part of the problem, I think, too. Because I think too, like I was so focused on how awful like Mary Cherry looked, like, and how upset she looked. I feel like Coco kind of suffered a little bit. But I would say Coco's, even both in look and performance, Coco was definitely the better of the two for sure. And it's very safe. I still kind of want Coco to do something a little grander.
Yeah, the like thin like ears that were kind of cool.
Yeah.
I did write her down as one of my top 3 looks. Just because I thought like the wig and everything, it worked for me for some reason.
I think that's fair. Yeah. Jay Jolie, I actually thought did all right for this challenge. You know, it's kind of a
Uber vamp.
Yeah, it's a good vein for her. You know, it's a good vein for her. And I was a little worried that she was gonna just be cute and sexy, like for the beach aspect of it. But she was the only one who I thought like really made herself like horrifyingly ugly. Yeah. And trying to be pretty at the same time.
In her favor to make herself deliberately uglier than the other ones, and especially in the face with the prosthetic. Those prosthetics look amazing.
Right.
It was a cool look, just maybe a little more polished would have made it a top 3 for me. But
Yeah,
I love the Buffy nod.
Yeah, I think if the outfit she had paired it with was a little more fashionable, like Saints, it would have been perfect, right? And she also kind of benefited a little bit too, because obviously her partner, Bitter Betty, had a really hard time in this challenge, which I think both helped Jade and hurt her at the same time. But yeah.
Do you think she would have benefited more from being paired with someone like Coco instead? Because they were both kind of brought down a little bit by their partner's showmanship or lack thereof.
I agree. Or someone who could put together a performance a little better and a little more polished, like Dolly or somebody, because Dolly really knew kind of how to position themselves. It looked and really had a strong concept.
Dolly.
Yeah, and somebody who can kind of think outside the box a little bit like that probably would have really helped Jade, because her look was pretty outside the box, especially for her. So I think if she had been paired with somebody, it would have been a lot more noticeable.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. Speaking of Bitter Betty, Bitter Betty, I also thought was just a very safe, like whatever look, which was kind of my problem with her last time. And so I was a little disappointed. I think she's going to be very middle ground for a while. Well, that's what I initially thought, but we'll get to her in a minute. But she also really struggled in this performance. I appreciated that she kept going and they improvised. Like I think at one point, somebody put sunscreen on her bald head after her her wig fell off. But yeah, I don't know. She was definitely, I think, in this like one of the lower ones for me.
Yeah, the look itself left a bitter taste in my mouth. So
what a bam!
It just, it's just like her Elvira look. Like I see what you were trying to do, but step your pussy up, girl. Like it's not. You're surrounded by titans who know how to control the stage and bring a character to life. And that's not to say anything about your drag, but you definitely need to be able to outshine those stars. And she hasn't quite gotten there yet.
I want to talk about Dolly and Hoso together, actually, because I felt like they were the only team that I think really cohesively and flawlessly performed together.
Yes.
With a concept and played off each other, and their looks, while completely different, were related to each other in concept. And I loved that. So I think if they had been judged as groups, this is probably where the win probably would have landed, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I felt the same way. I was really surprised that Dolly didn't win, because she had a fully realized character. She stayed in character the whole time, like that stalking around the stage, and her look on top of that was absolutely executed flawlessly.
Yeah, I loved their storyline, where Dolly's like the creepy flasher preying on like, preying on her, and he's like lurking around the surfboards, and
but also like enamored by like the entire like party scene altogether.
Yeah,
because there's moments where he's like completely distracted by what's going on, but then refocuses on Hoso. Like, I love that they had a storyline. Like, everyone else like, had like 12 storylines going on at once, because they like were trying to like build it as they went. I feel like they had a pre-thought out. This is our gag. This is what we're doing.
Yeah, and I feel like everybody else's was like, we're gonna dance around together. We're gonna hit this beach ball. We're gonna put on some like whatever, and that's all fine, and it all looks great together, because that's what a beach party typically looks like. But I like that theirs was darker, because that's essentially what this is supposed to be. So I really got a vibe that like she was this teenage chick, and he became a vampire on that beach, turned her into a vampire on the beach, and they kind of do this forever. Like I just got this storyline from them that I loved.
Like, I want to stalk you forever.
Yeah, and it's like, so now they're trapped in this set where she's kind of,
and she's like fine with it. She's like, I'll be young and beautiful forever, because she's young and beautiful.
Right. I loved it. She looked a lot like Kimchi to me here.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, it was really awesome. I would love to see them work together personally.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, but I really loved them. Astrid Aurelia. I don't know what this was, but it didn't read Beach Party to me. I just didn't get it. And she was paired. She was paired with Sigourney Beaver, who had a completely different look. Like they didn't go together. None of that worked for me. And I feel like Astrid was the one who really was the problem between the two.
Which she clearly didn't think, as she expressed later on.
I know, and that's where I violently disagreed with her.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
And kudos to Sigourney for not reacting. Because, I mean, if someone told me that, I mean, I'm sure we're going to talk about this a little later, but if someone had told me that, I would have did quite emotionally. Be like, I'm sorry, you're blaming me for what? And she was just like, look, this was a couple competition. Like we all made choices that were for the benefit of the team and for ourselves.
Right.
She's such a professional. I have so much respect for her.
Right. Yeah.
Astrid, however, is not.
Yeah. But now let's go there because immediately as they're getting critiques, before we even get to a winner, which of course is Saint. Saint wins the challenge, and I think Saint deserved it, but of course does not get that announcement before Astrid has a full-on meltdown on stage during her critiques, talking over the Boulets, interrupting the Boulets, defending herself. Yeah, just being completely ridiculous on stage. And I thought, whoa, like that was pretty bad. I had no idea how much worse it was going to get, but I was just like embarrassed for her, like while she was standing there. And so of course Astrid and Bitter Betty are revealed to be in the bottom and up for extermination, which for this week was going to be letting leeches feed on them, which is awesome. But before they leave, Astrid then has another meltdown backstage. And spirals out of control and blames everybody she can possibly blame for her being in the bottom, is embarrassed that she's in the bottom after being in the top once. And
on top of that, not only does she blame everybody else for the position that she fully put herself in, she degrades everyone else's artistry in that room in comparison to herself. Like they don't deserve to be there. They're just stepping stones for her to get to the end. Like, oh my gosh. It was the meltdown of, I've never seen a meltdown like that on TV, like that in a competition show like that. It's not a drag race or in drag.
I think her win definitely inflated her ego way too much.
Oh yeah.
Because I would argue that even the week she won, there were several other people who could have easily won. I think that was a very close.
Yeah, it was
close win. Yeah. And so regardless, and it's only 2 episodes in, but based on what I saw from her, there's no way she's gonna win Dragula when people like DAHLI and Saint, and I would even say people like Sigourney, and all these other people are in the comp. Like it's just not going. Like you could probably go really far. It's not like she's not talented, but I think she really needed to check herself a little bit, and she didn't.
And DAHLI's face the whole time, sitting there like, girl, just sitting there on the couch.
And you could, DAHLI wanted no part of it. DAHLI was embarrassed for her. It was like, oh my God, like she's doing this on camera. Is like the last person to go comfort her. And knows it's not going to be enough, I think. And I kind of felt bad for Saint because they really didn't talk about Saint winning.
Yeah, definitely robbed of that moment.
It was like a fatal car crash that you're like stuck in traffic. Like in as they like clean it up. It's like, oh God, this looks just awful. And it's wasting my time. Right?
I have somewhere to be.
So Bitter Betty and Astrid venture off and are up for extermination, and they have to let their limbs be submerged in leech-infested waters. And I think both actually put up a pretty good fight, you know, just, you know, to be objective, even though Astrid was such a terrible person.
Right.
You know,
having
she did
not seen anything else from the episode, I would have said it was pretty evenly matched.
Yeah. And
how did Betty get one on her chest? Did you see
Yeah.
it? She was like trying to pull it off for like the longest time. I was like, how did that happen?
I was really confused by that. But you know, whatever. I wasn't gonna be surprised if Bitter Betty was sent home. You know, because she had done weaker than Astrid the week before also, and so, you know, I half expected Astrid to be saved. But as we learn through the beach-themed extermination, Astrid is murdered pretty violently and is out of the competition. Yay, which I was pretty happy with, because even when we would watch that meltdown, I was like, I hope she dies right now. Anyways, it's time for top tweets. All right, let's get into some news. There's not a lot this week, thankfully, honestly. But for the Boulets' very famous Halloween ball, they've had a big change in their lineup, as Trixie and Katya were set to be the main stars of the Halloween ball. Trixie is now out and Alaska is in. Trixie also seems to have canceled a lot of her upcoming stuff. Not because she's terrible, but she got appendicitis, which really sucks for her. But I know a lot of people are excited to see someone like Alaska, who kind of probably makes a lot more sense for something like this, be added to the lineup.
Seems like more her aesthetic.
Let's get into the scoreboard. As always, these are the competitors we started with. And here's who we have left. Okay, so for our extermination order, so of course now we are up to 11 competitors, which actually drops formaldehyde down a placement. And Astrid Aurelia has now died and has come in 10th place. Up for elimination, so Bitter Betty was up for extermination but survived, so she has been up for extermination one time. So she and Laza Valletta so far have the worst stats because they've both been in the bottom. In terms of challenge wins, so Saint is actually in the lead with top stats because the only other person who won a challenge has already been eliminated, which is great for Saint. This week's episode is Weird Wild West.
So excited.
We are all caught up and ready for this week's episode. I'm really excited for it, and the season is super great so far. But with that being said, as always,
thank you for watching highlights,
and we'll see you next time.